What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are enjoying your Friday evening. I know I certainly am, and I want to thank you for tuning in to talk a little U.S. men's national team. Before we do, quickly go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons. Yeah, if you want to be a part of tonight's conversation, just go ahead and drop it in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this upcoming November window. CONCACAF Nations League versus Jamaica. It's going to be an interesting window. And what I like most about it is there's going to be some names that we're going to get back who had previously missed windows because of injury. So I'm looking forward to that as well, too. Before we begin, though, we are now in I believe it's the 85th minute in Atlanta, MLS Cup playoffs, game 2 of Inter Miami versus Atlanta. And that match is sitting at a 1-1 draw. Miami took an early lead and then Atlanta equalized. So that's coming to its conclusion. And we will update you as the show goes along to let you know who ultimately wins that or if that goes to PKs. So, all right. So U.S. men's national team, we're coming to an international break. And I want to say in about 10 days. And this is going to be an interesting roster for a multitude of reasons, because this is really the first roster where Mauricio Pochettino is going to have the autonomy, the time to really look at different pieces. Whereas before, when he went into the last international window, it was more based on information that received from other people, not necessarily the ability just to see with his own eyes. And now that he's had a full month to be in Italy, to be in France, to be in England, to watch some of these guys and figure out exactly how these pieces fit his system, I think we're going to see roughly a same roster, but a better roster. From the standpoint is, I don't think we're going to see guys traditionally in the positions they had under Greg Berhalter. So let's go ahead and get into it. And again, if you guys are tuning in, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons. That would be awesome. Let me also know exactly how you feel about this. And if there is a priority for you as far as players go that you are looking to see. And understand that this is a competitive window. These aren't friendlies. So I would probably assume we're going to see roughly the same characters. Not too many surprises, so let's go ahead and get into it. All right. Here's my starting 11. So we're going to start from the starting 11, and then we'll go bench. And in goalkeeper, I have Matt Turner starting. And I don't think this is that big of a surprise, considering that, Matt Turner got his first start of the season in a Carabao Cup draw versus Aston Villa, and he looked good. He played good, which I don't know what you guys were expecting, but Matt Turner actually played incredibly well, and I think there was some residual carryover from the international window when he played, and now that's probably going to carry into this window. And I think from the standpoint of where our goalkeeper situation is right now, and considering that these aren't friendlies, these are competitive matches, I would probably assume that Mauricio Pochettino is going to want a steady hand in net. And I would probably think the same thing as well, too. So I have Matt Turner in goal. I don't know how you guys feel about Turner, but it is what it is. I don't think this is the window where you can call in a Diego Cochin. I don't think, I would highly doubt that Gaga Slonina would be in the mix, considering he got benched. And when you look at Major League Soccer right now, who are you going to take out from a starting standpoint in Major League Soccer, considering it's the playoff right now? I would probably think that for any window, any non-competitive window where the playoffs weren't intact, I would probably assume you would probably see maybe a Zach Steffen, maybe a Matt Freese. Doubt it, but you might. But that would probably be Camp Cupcake in January. But considering this is CONCACAF Nations League, I would probably assume that they're going to go European. I would almost assume that, and so we're probably going to see Matt Turner. Turning to the left back position, I have Anthony Robinson, obviously, and the steady hands of Anthony Robinson makes the most sense. He's healthy, he's productive. The last couple games haven't necessarily been high-level Anthony Robinson, but they're also not terrible as well too. And a lot of it has to do with the competition he was facing. Still very good because he was still very good, but he also is that steady presence anchoring the back line as well too. And it's just something that you're like competitive matches you're not going to leave out. So Anthony Robinson has the left back position, center back positions, and again, I would not be surprised if Tim Ream were involved in this. I have Tim Ream and Mark McKenzie. And again, I think this is going to be a situation where you'll see 4 center backs. Now, granted, the case that I made for goalkeepers that you probably wouldn't see MLS goalkeepers considering the situation of what we find ourselves in. That being said, when it comes to the center back position, I would probably assume that Charlotte will release Tim Ream for this one. And that makes the most sense. When you talk about the center back position and the lack of stability, that being said, I still think he's the best center back in this rotation that's good with the ball at his feet. I know that maybe the results haven't necessarily reflected that. But that being said, for these type of matches, I would probably assume it's going to be the same situation as a goalkeeper. He probably wants a steady hand at center back. Tim Ream definitely fits that profile. And Mark McKenzie, without Chris Richards in the fold, you're going to go to your next best center back, and that's Mark McKenzie, who is actually playing pretty well right now for Toulouse. At right back, I have Marlon Fossey. And again, all of this is in the interim. We are waiting for Serginho Dest to get back. In the interim, they're going to go with the next best right back that gives them not just good defensive stability, but also the ability to push forward in the attack, and that's Marlon Fossey, who, by the way, had a phenomenal match this afternoon with his standard Liège side in the Belgian Pro League. He was buzzing around the pitch this afternoon. He was absolutely fantastic. And that's the evolution of Marlon Fossey. It's a year ago to today. He's a completely different player. It's unreal, and especially with just the amount of space that he the way he pushes forward, and the amount of space that he attacks in. He's pretty solid, man, and he had a nice performance back in the September windows. And he just gives you something that Joe Scally just doesn't provide. And I have him slated at right back. So how I have this is a 4-2-3-1. So we're acting with a double pivot here. I actually have Aiden Morris, and then I have Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams is healthy. He's back. Played today. I think he only played like 24 minutes, but he's progressively getting back. But that being said, he's healthy. And I would probably assume, considering what we saw in the Panama match and the match versus Mexico, we didn't have that steady presence in the midfield to link up to the attacking third. And that's something that Tyler Adams definitely gives this team. Now, I would probably assume that if you're going to call in Tyler Adams, there's going to be a restriction on it. That would only make the most sense. So, like maybe he plays the first 45, something like that, in some form or fashion. But that being said, a guy like Tyler Adams makes perfect sense. And I actually have him as a deep line playmaker. I don't have him as a defensive mid. That's what Aiden Morris is there to do. I actually have him being a creative playmaker. I think he's adept, and I think he actually can fill that role, something that we just haven't seen so far. Now here's where I have some. This is where there's some intrigue. And by the way, before we get into that, understand the match is over. Atlanta scores, by the way. Atlanta United scores late in the 5th minute of extra time, and they beat Miami 2-1. So this series is going 3. And it looks like Silva scored the winner in the 90th +4. So congratulations, Atlanta United. They have pushed Miami now to game 3. Very good. So Dax McCarty gets at least one more match. So at center attacker at the 10, I have Weston McKennie. And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there like, well, what about Malik Tillman? What about Malik Tillman? Okay, true. But Malik Tillman, so for whatever reason, that hasn't translated to the national team. And when you look at what Thiago Motta has been, how he's been using Weston at Juventus, playing him higher up the pitch, where he's scoring his goals, where is he at? He's inside the box within 8 yards of the goal. In that match against Inter, he was basically stationed in the channels between the center backs. That's how he was able to set up the first goal, and then he also set up Timmy Way. The ability and the creativity of having Weston McKennie up the pitch, facilitating strikers, is something that this team desperately needs, and that's why I have Wes farther up the pitch. I have him in that 10 role, and it makes perfect sense. He is at that point where if you're Mauricio Pochettino, that's something that you're going to try, because one of the biggest knocks right now, especially this last window, one of the biggest knocks was the fact that we don't give service to our strikers. Like that was the biggest knock, right? People were shit canning Josh Sargent. And it's like, well, that dude can't do his job without service, right? So it only makes sense. Like, you're getting Weston McKennie back. Put him farther up the pitch and just let him be that facilitator. It only makes, like, especially with Tyler Adams back in the fold, it only makes perfect sense to me. On the right side, I have Tim Weah. Again, he's back. He's going to be healthy, and he's going to be ready to go. There might be minutes restrictions. I don't know. But having that speed on the outside, being able to stretch defenses, is something that we just hadn't had in a long time since basically Copa America. Pulisic on the left, obviously. And that's the other thing that I like. The fact that you have Anthony Robinson basically using that entire left side, attacking, backtracking, you're going to be able to let Christian Pulisic roam in centrally. It's only natural that that's going to be able to happen, especially when you have cover down the left flank with Anthony Robinson. It only makes perfect sense. It's going to give this attack far more dimension. And especially when you're floating in, you have Weah on the right side. It only makes perfect sense. And then, of course, for my starting 9, I have Ricardo Pepi. It's not that I don't like Josh Sargent. It's when you look at Josh's last 5 matches, he hasn't scored. I think he had a 2-match streak with a couple assists. One of them was kind of a fluky assist. But for the most part, he hasn't scored. I think he hasn't scored a goal since like October 5th. So it's been a while since he's been productive as far as goal scoring. Ricardo Pepi had the 2-goal game recently. Today he played. I only think he only got like 10 minutes. But that being said, I think for this opening match, you can exchange players based on the match. Like if you want to go Pepi in game 1 and Sargent game 2, you most certainly can. But for this one, the first match out against Jamaica, I have Ricardo Pepi starting up top. And the attack of McKennie, Weah, Pulisic, and Pepi up top, I think that gives the United States far more dimension that we've seen essentially since Copa America. So that's what intrigues me about this starting 11. You have the speed at the wingback positions. Tyler Adams is back, playing that deep line creative midfielder, and Weston McKennie playing the 10, playing up as a roving 10 is going to create so much service. Where I would like to think that if you held a gun to my head and asked me how many goals the U.S. men's national team is going to score in that first match against Jamaica, I would probably put that number at 3. It's going to be great getting West back in the fold, getting Weah back in the fold, getting Adams back in the fold, and using them at their strengths instead of neutering a guy like West, like Triple G did. My bench is I'm not carrying four goalkeepers. There's no need to carry 4. Schulte and Horvath are coming in as my two backup goalkeepers. What's going to happen. There's no need fighting it. Schulte seems to be that young American goalkeeper they keep calling in. Okay, that's fine. A lot of people are going to say, well, if you're going to call him in and take him away from the crew, then you start him. True. And that's going to be something where I'd like to see from game to game. So if you have Matt Turner going 1, Schulte goes 2. My 2 center backs are Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty. I know a lot of people don't like Cameron Carter-Vickers. I don't either. But that being said, I don't see a world where Walker Zimmerman gets called in, and I don't think you can bring in Miles Robinson at all. We saw him last window, and Miles is not the same dude. I think he had the Achilles injury, and he's never been the same guy since that. And when you look at the form Cameron Carter-Vickers has been in lately for Celtic, he's been good, man. He's been pretty goddamn good the last couple of matches. And he's healthy, and it's worth bringing him in. Same thing with Austin Trusty. Austin Trusty always seems to get called in, but never sees the field. It is what it is. But if you're going to be starting Reem McKenzie, then you're going to have to have the next 2 be solid. And since Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty play together now in that center back pairing for Celtic, it's worth bringing him in. My backup right back is Joe Scally. Of course, it's going to be Joe Scally. He just gives you solid. He gives you solid defense, and that's about it. On the left side, I got Christopher Lund. I was close. I was close to picking John Tolkien, but I just don't see Mauricio Pochettino bringing in Tolkien. I just don't see it. It's like if you want to bring in like a set piece specialist, but he's probably not going to see the field. There's just no need. Here's the other thing, right? Because I have Aiden Morrison, but I also have on my bench Tanner Tessman and Johnny Cardoso. Both Tessman and Cardoso have been getting starters minutes recently, and they've been playing very well. Tessman with Lyon and Cardoso with Real Betis. Both have actually been playing very, very, very well. I don't think Tessman played today. Cardoso did, and he had an okay day today, nothing special. But I would like to think that they're going to carry 3. And the reason for this is because if Tyler Adams is in camp, but he's on a minutes restriction, which means you're only going to be playing him 45 and 45, it makes sense to carry an extra 6. Especially like a guy like Tessman who actually can push the ball forward. It just makes sense. It makes sense to carry that extra 6. Yunus Musa, and here's the thing. In a situation where you have Tyler Adams starting and you have Weston McKennie starting, Yunus Musa does not see the field at all. We're getting to Soccer Satan, man. I love Soccer Satan. Yunus Musa doesn't see the field. And that's okay because the great part about Eunice is now you get to deploy him the way that he's meant to be deployed. And he brings energy off that bench. And I actually think that suits the U.S. men's national team better than him trying to be an 8 or trying to be a 10 or having him out on the wing. You actually get to pick and choose when you can deploy Yunus Musa, and I think that actually helps this far better. The next guy on my list is Gianluca Busio, and I like Busio. I've been very high on Busio for a while now. I think he brings an extra added dimension, and again, because if Tyler Adams is in and he's on the minutes restriction, it's just another option that you have at that position. And Busio, I believe Busio has yet to hit that high end ceiling. That dude is just so talented. Haji Wright, for obvious reasons. Brendan Aronson. And Brendan Aronson is always going to have a spot on my bench for everything that he does. And I know a lot of people shit on Brendan Aronson, and fair enough, man. For whatever reason, his form in the championship does not translate to the national team, but it's the things that he does as far as hustle-wise. That's what I like, man. I like the fact that dude is energy. That dude is all energy. He tracks, he attacks. He's a very good defender. That dude has a spot coming off the bench. And, of course, Josh Sargent is also on my bench as well. And, of course, Soccer Satan, who's already in the chat, he says Sargent out. It's like, dude, I get it. I get why people feel that way, and especially in the last window, Sargent didn't do much, but also Sargent didn't have any service, man. And especially when you think about that Mexico match, and it's like, dude, you can't judge anybody on that performance at all, because there was no attack. It was literally every time that they tried to push forward or play through the midfield, they got depossessed, and we didn't even really get to the attack. But that being said, Josh Sargent does have a place on it. I don't have him starting for an obvious reason, because right now I don't think his form is good enough to warrant him a start. I think Ricardo Pepi is just a little bit better. But that being said, Sargent still does have a place on this team. And in certain situations with certain people on the field that are going to be able to give him service, I think Josh Sargent is finally going to get off the schneid as far as U.S. men's national team goals. Soccer Satan, Balogun out, Dest out, Gio out, Richards out. Yep. We still have a lot of guys out. So what I like about this team right now is we're getting guys back. Tim Way is going to be in. McKinney's going to be in. Adams is going to be in. That is going to be huge. I can't wait until we have everybody back. The problem, though, is all I'm going to say about this right now. When Gio gets back healthy, okay, number one, how much is he going to be playing for Dortmund? That's my first question. Because I believe it's the start, stop that continues to get him injured. Like, he doesn't play enough. And not playing enough makes your body static, and when that happens, you get constantly injured. So that's my first question with Gio Reyna. When he gets healthy, how much is he going to play? Now, they say that he's going to be facilitating that Marco Reus position for Dortmund. We'll see. We will definitely see. But that being said, if that's the case, then he'll be seeing the field at least once a week for a limited time. But that being said, when you're injured, guys step up and fill those roles, and now you have to start from scratch again. This is what I would like for Gio. Okay, when Gio gets back healthy, hopefully that coincides with the January window, and Gio finds his way out of Dortmund. Like, a move to the Eredivisie would be excellent. Like, if he goes to Ajax or Feyenoord or PSV even, because he's going to find starting minutes at any of those three teams. Maybe even a move to Ligue 1. Maybe not top 5 Ligue 1, but top 10 Ligue 1. Even the championship. How awesome would that be? You know what I mean? Like he goes to Norwich, plays with Joshy in Norwich. But the reality is, once he's back, he's got to play. Because if he doesn't, we're going to hear within a month he had a setback in training and he's going to be out for like another 3 months. Dest. Dest is going to be back in January, so I'm looking forward to that. Richards is going to be back. I think he's going to be back after this international window. They're slow rolling Richards, which is the right thing to do. I like what Crystal Palace is doing with Richards. They're not rushing him back, and that's fine. Although their results are kind of suffering a little bit because of it. And then Balogun, that was the bad one, man. Losing Balogun till January with the shoulder injury, but it is what it is, right? So you got to make do. You could also leave off one of Tessman or Cardoso if you want to bring in a third striker. I wouldn't necessarily being opposed to that. Home dude. The thought of bringing in back a guy like Zendejas maybe makes sense. I think he showed in that Mexico match that he's worthy of it. I just think in a situation where we're now not, we're not playing friendlies anymore. We're actually playing competitive matches. And the expectation for the United States men's national team is to win the Nations League. So they're going to put out the strongest lineup possible, and their backups are going to reflect it as well too. Before I go, I wanted to talk a little bit about Gaga Slonina. The weird thing about Gaga is, yes, he got benched, and it sucks. It's not an indication that he's bad. I don't think so at all. I think the reality is that Gaga is a dude who is extremely confident, borderline arrogant, and I love that in a soccer player. Absolutely. Like, you have to play this with reckless abandon. You have to play this game with arrogance and confidence, even when you're not going well. When I watch Gaga play, I see a dude who is being aggressive all the time, and I like that in the player. Now, he was being reckless to a point. He was being aggressive to the point where he was reckless, and he started leaking in goals. And that's fine as long as you're learning from these mistakes. I still think Gaga's got a bright future with the U.S. men's national team. I don't think this benching is going to be a long-term thing. I think it's going to be a very short-term thing, and I would probably expect to see him back in the starting lineup soon. But the one thing that when you watched him play and you saw how far he came off from his goal line to make plays, and sometimes it worked. Most of the time, he leaked in goals. But that being said, his creativity in net is something that, like, you can vision 5 years into the future when that maturity level steps up and his own physical levels improve, and just his maturity, just his ability, like 5 years worth of playing that position, he's going to be so much better. I would probably venture to say by 2030, he probably might be the U.S. number one, maybe. But it sucks, man. It sucks for a dude like for a guy like Gaga, who wanted to be the number one in 2026 and was playing very, very aggressively. And unfortunately, it bit him in the ass. And it's too bad. I still thought that outside of Arthur Okonkwo with Wrexham, he was the best keeper in League One. But that being said, man, when you're leaking in those goals, eventually you're either going to tone it down a little bit and play conventional football, or you're going to continue to do what you're doing. And it came back to bit him in the ass, and it's unfortunate. But I still think Gaga Slonina's got a very, very bright future with the U.S. men's national team. But pertaining to this window right here, chances are very good you're going to see the three in goal that we've seen for the last, 2 months, 3 months. Matt Turner, 100%. Patrick Schulte, and Ethan Horvath, 100%. I don't understand Ethan Horvath, but who else are you going to bring in? The problem with Zach Steffen is that over the course of the last month, that Colorado has not been playing well, and that's with Zach Steffen as well too. As a matter of fact, I think tonight he allowed in a bad goal off a deflection. Home against LA, game 2 of the Western Conference first round playoff matchup. Zach Steffen's coming out to kick a ball downfield to clear it. Gabriel Peck steps in front of it. It deflects right off of him into the net, and that's something you absolutely cannot allow. If you see somebody coming at you, you kick it out the touchline, man. And it sucks that you're giving out a throw in that deep into your own side of the pitch, but it's better than what happened. Zach, it is what it is, man. Like, if you're asking me, would I rather have Ethan Horvath take a roster spot to sit on the bench and not see the field for 2 games against Jamaica? Maybe. You know what I mean? Like, if you're asking me, like, does it matter? No, I mean, I guess not, because Zach, I guess is it the symbolic gesture of having Zach Steffen on the roster, knowing that he's not going to see the field? I don't think it really matters, right? Because Matt Turner is going to see the most action this window. Like, he's probably going to be starting both games, but I have Schulte on this one because Schulte seems to be like the flavor of the week, young American goalie right now. You know what I mean? Like, who else? Diego Cochin's not going to get called in. I doubt it. Stranger things have happened. I know he's being called up to the Barca first team. He's sitting on the bench, but I doubt Diego Cochin gets called in, right? So you're probably going to bring in Schulte, who's going to sit on the bench. He's going to be involved in training, and that's about it. What I will say is, one of the things that I do, I watch a lot of English football, right? So I see I see Crystal Palace play a lot. I see all these guys in the championship on a week in, week out basis. And these guys are good footballers, man. Like, it doesn't matter the league that they're playing in. Like, we need to get out of this mindset of league, right? Because league doesn't matter. What matters is, are you playing and are you in form? Which is why I don't give a shit if there's MLSers on this roster, as long as they're in form and playing well. Even better if they're in a purple patch, man. Even better. But it doesn't matter. Like, that's the reality of it, right? I want players who are playing and playing well. And that is the nexus of my roster predictions, because all of these guys are playing well. They're playing and they're playing well. Matt Turner is the only guy on my roster, and maybe Ethan Horvath as well, who aren't really playing regularly. But the one thing that I was happy about when he played against Austin Villa, Matt Turner, he played this week in the Carabao Cup fixture against Austin Villa. He played well, man. He conceded a goal. Okay, that was going to happen anyway. You're playing Villa, but I think he made 5 saves, all of them good. Like, his passing wasn't great. I think he was accurate passes. He was 55%, and his accurate long balls, I think he was even worse, like 33%. That's going to happen considering he doesn't play a lot, man. That's going to happen. But when it was time for him to step up to make a big play, he did. And it was nice to see it. His teammates rallied around him at the end, gave him a big hug. I think his teammates were pulling for him as well, too. So it's nice to see it. I thought he played well against Panama in the last window. That was fine. It seems like he took the positives from the last window and brought it into this. So it was good to see it. I don't think he's still unless Henderson gets injured, he's not going to see the field regularly. But I would probably assume in cup matches, because we're coming to the nitty gritty with the Carabao Cup. I think we're now in the I want to say semis right now. Quarters or semis. We're getting towards the end of that, but then we're going to start seeing FA Cup fixtures, and I would probably assume that because Matt Turner had this positive result, we're probably going to see Turner in the FA Cup, because for Crystal Palace, they're going to be seeing fixtures fast and thick. So you're going to want to rotate and keep Dan Henderson at least healthy, especially after today. I don't know if you guys were watching it. Wolves versus Crystal Palace. Henderson came out and made a save, but the ball hit him right off the face, man. And it looked like he had his bell rung a little bit, but he stayed in, and ultimately they won. But these are the things that are going to happen as the season wears on. And Matt Turner is going to find himself starting more oftentimes than not. So there's going to be a reason why Matt Turner is going to continue to get it called in for the U.S. men's national team. It's just going to happen. Whether you guys like it or not, he's still USMNT number 1 right now. It's just the way it is. Unless a guy like Schulte blows him away in training, right? Because a lot of this is also, when these guys come in and they train, a lot of this is also training based as well too. It's also results plus how you look in camp determines whether you're going to start. So unless somebody comes in and literally blows Pochettino away, Matt Turner, all he has to do is hold serve, be consistent, and he's going to start. With Soccer Satan right here, also mentioned Serginho Dest, and that's the big one. I don't think not having Chris Richards, or not having Gio available is all that big of a deal. Because I also highlighted, Weston McKennie, because how Thiago Motta's playing him at Juve, he's using him as a 10, a high floating roaming 10, almost as a false 9. And we saw that in 2 fixtures this week, where he's scoring from is deep in the box. His positioning is in the channels between center backs. And so when service comes in, he has the option of shooting or assisting another teammate. And he's been fantastic for Juve. So not having Gio is okay, because you have a dude like Wes. That's going to be okay. I don't know with not having Gio if it really impacts this group all that much. You would like to have him, but is it that big of a loss? Same thing with Richards. It's I like Chris Richards. I think he's our best center back, but can we hold serve against Jamaica with Tim Ream and Mark McKenzie? 100%. And you do have Cameron Carter-Vickers, and you have Austin Trusty, who are playing pretty well right now for Celtic. So you have the center back is going to, it's not the best we've ever had, but it's also certainly not the worst. It's serviceable. It's Serginho Dest is probably the biggest, because of the things that Serginho Dest does. The way that we praise Anthony Robinson, and rightly so, because he's our second best player next to Christian. The way that we praise him, and his work rate, his ability to track forward in the attack, and then being able to his ability to track back and be a world-class defender. It goes without saying, Serginho Dest has the exact same ability on the right side. Not having Serginho Dest's ability to be in this attack greatly affects it. And so you're left with Marlon Fossey, who's probably the best of the available right backs. Joe Scally doesn't give you any attack. So Marlon Fossey at least gives you that his ability to press forward, and he's a pretty solid defender. And I like the way that they use him in standard Liège, because he's a true wing back, a right wing back in the Belgian Pro League. So he gives you that look, but it's the Belgian Pro League. League doesn't matter, form matters. But that being said, when you're playing against certain teams, that level of competition, sometimes that brings, sometimes that level of competition will either bring it out of you or it won't. But I like Marlon. But that not having Serginho Dest, that one kind of hurts a little bit. But he's going to be back in January, and I'm sure we'll have him back by Gold Cup next year. And getting Timmy Weah back greatly helps this team out. But yeah, Ballo, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I don't know how you guys feel about Balogun. He got hot right there, right before getting injured. That was cool to see. But Ballo was out of form for well over a year, and he started the season terribly, to the point where he got his ass benched. Now he rebounded. That's good to see. At least you see that he's fighting. But I don't know. Like, I want to see consistency from Balogun at the national team level before everybody just starts penciling him in. So it's up to Ricardo Pepi and Josh Sargent to carry that load. And this window, we're going to see that, because we have guys in our lineup now that are going to be able to provide service. So there's not going to be any excuses for either or, right? You could say that against Panama, and you could say that against Mexico, because we didn't, how many times were we putting balls into the box? I mean, on a consistent basis against both of those teams, and the answer was very little, right? Being able to play through the middle of the park, being able to have a dude that's going to be able to have that link up play from your midfield to your 10, and then being able to distribute from that position in the center of the park. Or if you're attacking up both wings and being able to play that ball deep down the right side, having a guy like Wade go chase it 1v1 and put a ball into the box. How many times that didn't happen? And Christian didn't. Christian played 70 some odd minutes against Panama, and it was that give and go with Brendan Aronson that freed up Yunus Musa for that goal. So I think Josh only had 3 touches in that game, and one of them he missed badly over the crossbar. But it's dude only had less than a handful of touches, man. You can't really judge it off that. But again, with Tyler Adams back, with West back, with Weah back, there's going to be opportunities to see more touches. And so there's going to be no excuse for Ricardo Pepi, who I have starting in game 1, or Josh Sargent, who I think we'll probably see in that second game. It's also going to be interesting to see how they plug in Brendan Aronson and how they plug in Haji Wright. What's going to end up are they coming in as wingers? That's going to be an interesting one. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for me. Again, starting 11: Matt Turner, Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Marlon Fossey, Tyler Adams, Aidan Morris, Weston McKinney at the 10, Way on the right, Christian on the left, and Pepi up top. And my bench is Schulte, Horvath, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Austin Trusty, Christopher Lund, Tanner Tessman, Johnny Cardoso, Yunus Musa, Gianluca Busio, Haji Wright, Brendan Aronson, Josh Sargent. And I think that is going to be well more than enough to advance to the semifinal of the Nations League. I don't care where we're playing Jamaica. This is a team that should at the very least score 3 goals in either leg. So there you have it. You guys tell me what you guys think of my starting 11, but also, is there anybody that's essential that you think that Pochettino should be carrying this window? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And tune in tomorrow, because it's the MLS Cup playoff live stream. Seattle and Houston, game 2. That's going to be an interesting matchup. And of course, Miami and Atlanta played game 2 tonight. And Atlanta won it late in the 90 plus 4. Silva knocked in the game winner. So that one pushes to game 3. This is actually the MLS's wet dream. 100% extending a playoff series where Messi's involved, where you get that extra playoff game, so they can sell advertising. 100%. This is why this is in place for Major League Soccer. The ability to extend things, get extra playoff games, 100%. Don Garvin's he's got to change his shorts, man, every single time a series goes through. This is all good for Major League Soccer. So that's going to come down tomorrow. What else? We're also going to do more MLS Cup live streams this week. I'm also doing a video of my all-time USMNT starting 11 this week. I love doing all-time teams. It's a cooler reflection on player development over generations. And the U.S., believe it or not, man, the U.S. has developed some very good players. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly who I have in my starting 11. And I would probably assume that a U.S. all-time starting 11 wins a World Cup. Yeah, that's right. I just said it. U.S., if you had all of those players in their prime playing together on the same team, 100% the United States wins a World Cup. Without a doubt. That's going to do it for me. So look out for all that. You can go check everything at the YouTube page and see some of the old content. Hit the notification bell to make sure that you don't miss all the future content. And that's going to do it for me. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you guys have a fantastic night tonight. It is Friday, so go out and have a good time. Get rowdy, drink a couple beers. Have fun with your girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? You guys take care.